In last night's episode, Down the Hatch, the team assembled in the war room to video conference with Dr. Chris McFarlane of the University of New Brunswick, who is their favorite expert for laser ablation testing. The piece tested was the lead disc aka buzzer that we have talked about in great detail. Dr. McFarlane ran the test and said that the piece is not tens of years old but 100s of years old. That's the best he could do with the date. He told the team that, isotopically, it looks very similar to the lead cross. He went on to say that it sources from Europe but fits with a French source. He said it is close to the isotopic composition of the cross and its actual value is essentially identical. This launched the determination that the buzzer is related to the lead cross and Templar in origin.
Although, let's consider the following: when the lead cross was first analyzed by Dr. McFarlane, all he could say was that it was European in origin and old. It needed to be put into a more specific context. It was then sent to Tobias Skowronek, a geochemist at the German Mining Museum who conducted more research and testing and identified the cross as French and located the specific mine. It's important to understand that isotopes are simply atoms of the same chemical element, in this case lead, which have slightly different masses. Lead has 4 stable isotopes but is unusual because the relative proportions of its isotopes vary somewhat among ores occurring in different geographical areas of ore deposits. This is how the source of the lead can be narrowed down to a certain geographical region. In Season 7, Gary was metal detecting around the slipway at Smith's Cove when he detected a metal fragment/tag that he thought was silver. Dr. Krista Preshow tested the piece and verified that it was lead and not silver. It was then sent to Dr. McFarlane for laser ablation testing and he concluded that it was not North American in origin. He thought it was European and most likely from the western side of the Mediterranean, probably Spain, France, or Italy. This would be the general area because the isotope compositions are very similar in this region. This again launched the idea that the piece was Templar in origin and a sign they were on the island. The question is, how can Dr. McFarlane be sure that the source of the disc is not from Spain to Italy? According to this information, that is definitely possible. Earlier this season, Emma Culligan, the team's archaeometallurgist, ran tests and conducted research to identify the region where the lead piece originated. She said according to her data, it originated anywhere from Spain to Iran in a belt through Sardinia and Italy. She said the closest match she found was in Sardinia. Emma is an expert and conducted quite a bit of work to come to this conclusion. This is originally how the idea of the piece being Roman came from. It's interesting to note that Emma was completely quiet during this segment with Dr. McFarlane and observing her body language, did not seem to agree with his assessment. She was not asked any questions and she did not ask any of Dr. McFarlane, according to the footage. I found this extremely odd. Emma's work, like Tobias Skowronek's, was a more thorough investigation based on many factors than just what the isotopes revealed. Another expert, Sandy Campbell, the favorite numismatist, stated that the piece was a Roman token from the 5th century AD that was based on a sketch of a similar piece in the British Museum and one he saw in a coin collection he handled several years ago. It was interesting that when the team was in Rome, they took samples to the Italian numismatist, and the lead disc/buzzer was nowhere to be found. This leads to speculation that it was taken, and they were told it wasn't a token or coin. Marty at the start of the video conference with Dr. McFarlane said, "We have had many people look at this thing. This seems to indicate it was looked at in Rome." During the interview, the team was discussing the context of the find and Gary was mentioning that he had a suspicion it was Templar from where it was found. Although it was also noted that it was found near the circular depression that they've been excavating, and they were pulling out pieces of evidence that dated from the mid-1750s. Wouldn't that indicate a more likely timeframe for the deposit of the lead piece? It is an exact ringer for a British buzzer from that exact period and using proper context, it's most likely the correct identification. To his credit, Craig Tester mentioned that he wanted more details and Dr. McFarlane said he could provide guidance and look into it. Although Emma Culligan is the better fit for such an assessment and has already given her opinion, which I believe is the correct one.